Hello everyone, welcome to my introduction to Microsoft Excel. Let's get started. First, what is Excel? So Excel is a spreadsheet program. Now, what is a spreadsheet program, right? The spreadsheet refers to all the cells that you see here. So let me talk about the cells. If you look at these cells that go up and down, this is a column. Okay, so this is column B, this is column C, D, and so on. Okay, and these over here, the numbers, so this is row 2, row 3, row 4, and so on. Okay, so that is a spreadsheet. Okay, it's made of columns and rows, and you can input uh, information and data, and you can do calculations. What do people use Excel for? Well, people use Excel for keeping track of their money. So, like big companies use Excel for accounting, right? So, to do planning with their money and keeping track of their money or how to spend their money. Uh, People also use Excel to store data or information. So, for example, like a teacher can use Excel to store students' information like their name, phone number, address, or their grades. People also use Excel um, to make lists and tables. Uh, they can also make calendars. Uh, and you can also use Excel to add charts and graphs to your presentations, and you can also use Excel to analyze those graphs or data and information, plus many other uses. Let's talk about getting started with Excel and the user interface. When you start Excel, you can choose to start a new workbook. So this is a workbook. If you look at the top, this is the title of this workbook, which is the default. It's book one. So what does it mean by workbook, right? So in uh, Microsoft Word, it is a document, right? But in Microsoft Excel, it is a workbook. Now, in this workbook, okay, if you look all the way down here, this is sheet one or spreadsheet one. Okay, so in your workbook, you have different sheets that you can make. And if you look to the right of the sheet one, it has a plus icon right here, and you can add sheets to your workbook. Let's go back to the top. Now, right under the file name, so right here, are the tabs. So the tabs are right here. And now within each tab, there is the ribbon. And within each ribbon, there are groups of tools, right? So this is the clipboard tools. These are the font tools, the alignment tools. So it's very similar to Microsoft Word in that. Now, if you go under that, let me clear that out. If you go under that, this is the formula bar right here, okay? And this one right here is the cell name. And if you go under that, uh, you'll come to the spreadsheet, right? So the columns and rows, okay? If you go all the way down to the bottom right hand side, you have something that looks familiar. Uh, this is the zoom, okay, option right here. Before I go any further, I want to bring your attention to the mouse cursor and why it is very important, especially in Excel. So let me zoom in so we can have a better look at it. So if you look here, I have my mouse cursor uh, in the name box or the cell name, right? And if you look at the mouse cursor, it is the I-beam or the text cursor, right? If I move it down to the spreadsheet, it is a 3D cross, right? Uh, and that will do something else if I click here, right? And it will do something else if I click the name box, right? So, if I move my mouse cursor in between columns B and C, so if you look at it, okay, it looks something different. Okay, the mouse cursor changes, and if I just put it on B, it changes to again. So it is very important that you pay attention to the mouse cursor and what it looks like, because you will be able to do different things with the mouse, and it's gonna be important to pay attention. Another important thing that I want you to know is the cell names. Okay, so if you look right here, I have this cell right here selected, and you know that it is selected because it has a green box on that cell. And if you look at the name box or the cell name up here, it's A1. So this cell right here is cell A, referring to the column A, and row 1, okay, here. So this is cell A1. If we go to the right, okay, this is cell B1. And if we go down 1, this is cell B2. And that's going to be very important because when we do our calculations, okay, we will be using the cell names. Let's start with opening, closing, and saving our workbook. Those options will be under the File tab. So let's choose File tab. If you want to start a new workbook, you will go to New, and right here you will be given the option to choose a blank workbook, okay, which is a new workbook. Or let's say you want to open, okay, you can choose the open option here, and you can go find a workbook that you already have saved. Let me cancel out of there. And if you want to save your workbook, uh, there are the same two options like Microsoft Word, save and save as. If this is the first time that you are saving this workbook, you would choose save as because it will save a copy of your workbook. If you have already saved your workbook before, you can choose the option to save, and save it means to update your workbook. Okay, and if you want to close this workbook, you can just choose close to close the workbook. Let's start inputting some data. I'm going to select cell A1. I'm going to start typing something. Let me just type in text. I'm going to press enter. And in cell A2, I'm going to type a number. So I'm going to type number 10, press enter. And if you notice, in cell A1, this is text. So in a cell, text will be aligned to the left. If you type a number, it will be aligned to the right. Next, let me talk about the autofill. So let me write that out so you can see. So autofill, okay, and what that does. So I'm just gonna select cell C4, and I'm going to type the month. So I'm going to type in January. Okay. Now I can go over to the next cell, okay, and type in February, and go over and type March, and go over and type April. Okay, I can do that, but it's gonna take some time, right? An easier way to do that, okay, let me just delete this first. You can just type January here, and if you look, let me zoom in. If you look at the cell, if you look at the bottom right hand, there is this, it looks different, right? And the bottom right hand of the green box, there is called a, this is called a handle, and you can drag it. It's the autofill handle. You can drag the handle, click it and drag it to the right, and it will automatically add in the months for me. Now let's do some numbers. I'm just gonna select this cell right here, and I'm gonna type in number 1, and I'm going to click and drag the autofill handle again, and it's the bottom right here. Click and drag and go down, and if you look, it didn't do an order for me, right? But if you notice, uh, this is still selected with the green box. If you look at the autofill function option down here, you can click it to give you more options, right, for the autofill. And I want it this to be listed, right, as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can choose this fill series. Okay, instead of copying the cell, I'm going to choose fill series, and so pay attention to what it does. It has renumbered it to a series, right, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is the autofill function. Let's do some cut, copy, and paste. And I want to copy these cells right here in column A. So for me to do that, I have to click on one of the cell first and drag it to select all 3 cells. And you know that those cells are selected because it has the green box around all 3 of those cells. And there are a couple of ways to copy this. Okay, you can Control C, which is the shortcut for copy, and you can select the cell that you want to copy it to. So let's say I just wanted to copy it to cell A6, and select A6, and then Control V to paste, right? That is the shortcut, and it will copy and then paste your data. Now I'm going to undo that. What if I want to move it? Okay, make sure you select your data that you want to move. Okay, there are 2 ways to do this. You can cut and then paste. Okay, let me show you that first. So select the data, and I'm going to cut it, which is Control X, right? It's the shortcut for cutting. I'm going to Control X. Now I'm going to select A6 again, and I'm going to paste it, and Control V. And if you notice, it moved the text, right? So it's a little bit different than Microsoft Word in terms of cutting and pasting. Okay, it it doesn't cut the text right away. Now let me undo that, and let's do that again. And this is the way that I prefer to move data. Make sure you have it selected, and move your mouse cursor uh, to the border, right? The green border. And if you notice, the mouse cursor has changed, right, to this arrow that points up, down, left, and right. Uh, Now you can click, hold it, and then drag it down. And the green box will move with you to show you where the data will be placed. And I wanted to start on A6. Now you can let go, and the data will move. Let me show you how to format columns and rows. So if we look at column A here, it is too wide and I want to make it narrower. Okay, so to do that, pay attention to the mouse cursor, right? So in the columns up here, A and B and C, I'm going to move my mouse cursor to be at the border of A and B, right? So if you pay attention to my mouse cursor, let me move it right to the border of A and B, and if you look, it changed to a line with an arrow pointing left and right. Now that I'm here, I can click and drag it to the left to make column A narrower. Okay, so I'm going to click, hold it, and drag it to the left to make row A narrower. Okay, now you can also, a faster way to do that, so I'm going to undo that. Uh, if you look at my data, text, 10, and autofill, it's not long, right? Uh, if I want to auto fit it to autofill, because autofill is my longest word here, make sure you have that autofill that cell selected. You can move your cursor, your mouse cursor uh, uh, to between A and B, and you can double click. So I'm going to double click right here at the border A and B, and it will automatically fit that column to the longest word or to the longest data that you have in that column. If I want to uh, format or resize all these columns, so let's say I want to make it smaller, I can click between each column and drag it, right? So like this. You go to between C and D and click and drag it to make them narrower. Okay, but a faster way, so let me undo those changes. Let me undo this one as well. Okay, so let's say I want A, B, and C to be the same width. Okay, I can click and drag up here on the columns to select those columns. Okay, so I'm going to click on column A and drag to B, C, and D, and now I have all those columns selected. I can go to any of the borders, okay, between A and B, B and C, or C and D, uh, and I can click and drag it. And if you notice, they are all the same size. Okay, so that is how to make your columns the same size. Okay, and if I want to make it a little wider, click and drag it, and it will resize every column that I have selected to be the same size. It's gonna be the same for the rows. Okay, if I want to make these row one taller, right? I can just click well, move my mouse cursor to be between rows 1 and 2, click and drag it down to make row 1 taller, right? I can make that even as tall as I want. Okay, let me undo that, just one. And if I want to make rows 1, 2, 3, 4 the same height, right, I can select the rows 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that, just like how we selected each columns. um, Now I can click on and drag any of the borders, and it will resize those rows to be the same height. If you want a row to be a specific height, okay, you can do that. So let's choose row 5 here, and I want row 5 to be a specific height, you can go to the cells group under the home tab. In the format tool here, you can choose row height, and you can also do that for the column width as well. So I'm going to choose row height, and I can put a specific number here if you know what you want. So let's say I want to double that. I can type in 30 in the row height box and then click OK, and Excel will format that to be the height that you want. Next, let's cover formatting. Now, it's going to be this similar to Microsoft Word. If you look under the Home tab, you'll see the font group and the alignment group here. So let's say I want to make this text here on A1. Let me type in title here for this one, and I want to I can format that. I can choose a different text by going to the font group and click the drop down menu for the font type, and I can choose a different type, and I can also choose a different font size if I want. Okay, let me make it a little bit smaller on that. And you have other options like changing the font color if you want. um, so let me choose green, and you can fill in the cells, right? So you can fill in the cells if you want. And if you look at the alignment group, you can put title a center align or right align, and these are the other options available in Excel. You can align it to the middle, to the top, or the bottom, right? So this is the align it to the top, and you can align it to the middle of the cell or to the bottom of the cell. Okay, let me just choose the middle, and let me just choose back to the right. You can format the number. So let me choose the number 10 here, and let's say this is $10. Okay, and if I want the number sign, the easiest way for you to do it is to type all your numbers first, and then go here to the numbers group under the home tab. Okay, you'll see the accounting number right here. You can select that, and it will convert your number into dollars, right? You'll have a dollar sign with your cents here. Uh, let's say if you don't want to show the zeros here for your cents, you can go back to the numbers group, okay, and you can increase or decrease the decimal. So I don't want it's $10 even, so I don't want to see the cents. You can decrease the decimal here and to show you that it is $10. And if you look at the formula bar, okay, you'll see that it's 10. It doesn't change. Okay, so let me change that back to see the to increase the decimals. If you look, it doesn't change the number that you have in there. Okay, it is only showing you. It'll show you the dollar signs and the cents. Uh, decimal places here. The other tools available in the numbers group, okay, are the percentage and the commas. So let me type a number here. Let me do 50%, and 50% is 0.5. Okay, let me press enter. And let's say I don't want it to show as 0.5. I want to show it as 50%. You can add the percentage sign up here in the numbers group, and it's the this symbol right here, right? The percent style. Uh, Let me click that, and it will convert that 0.5 into 50%. Let's say I have a big number. I'm gonna type in a big number here, just a random number, and I want it doesn't show you any decimal or commas, and I want it to show commas, you can select the number, go to the numbers group, and choose the comma style. And oh, good. If you look, it did some of these hashtags for me, right? Uh, and what that means is that it's too long, okay, and it won't be able to show you. If you look at the formula bar, the number is still here. Nothing has changed, right? It's just that it is too long. It won't be able to show you. So what you need to do is to increase the width of this column. So I'm going to increase the width a little bit more. And if you look, it has added the comma and also the decimals placed right here, right? So this is the comma and the percent style. Here I have a very basic information of how much I pay for my bills every month. And at the top, I want to add the month, okay? So I'm going to type in January, and this time I'm going to abbreviate. I'm going to use the autofill to fill in the rest of the months. So I'm going to click and drag the autofill handle, and I'm going to drag it to fill in the rest of the months, okay? Now I want to fill in the calculations for the total that I pay for my last 6 months, right? And I want to do that for my electric bill and the rest of my bills. I'm going to show you a couple ways to do it. So the first way is you can just add the numbers, okay? So for you to do that, you need to select the cell that you want to put the total in, and then you can just type, okay? And for any formula, you have to always start with the equal sign, okay? And type in equal, okay? That's the equal sign. And then you can add, right, from January all the way to June. So you can add 80 plus 85 plus 90 plus 100 plus 105 plus 120. And then you can press enter, and that will add the number for you. Let's say I want to add in July's bill, okay, for my electric bill. To do that, I'm going to select the total row. I'm going to move it over, okay, to column J. I'm going to add July here, and I'm going to add how much I paid for electricity in July. Now, I haven't pressed enter yet, so pay attention to the total, okay? Right now it's at 580. I've entered my bill for my electricity, and it's 150. I'm going to press enter, and if you notice, the total didn't change, right? So let me show you a better way to do totals, right? Or this for this. So I'm going to undo all of that, okay? And I'm going to select the total for electricity. I'm going to press delete to delete that. And let me show you the second way to do it. So first you will have to press equal, right? It's like for every formula. And then I'm going to press S for the sum, because the total is the sum. Okay, it's just another word for total. I'm going to press S. Okay, and if you notice, a bunch of formulas pop up, right? And in Excel, there are a lot of formulas, okay? But I want the sum. I'm going to scroll down to look so I can find sum. So SUM, I'm going to select sum, and I'm going to press tab for it to apply the sum. And then it's asking me which cells do I want to add, okay? So if you remember, I told you to pay attention to the cell names, okay? I'm going to add starting from cell C3, okay? Here all the way to H3. So what I need to do is click and add those cells. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to start on cell C3, click it, and you can see the little outlines, right? The like ants. Okay, and I'm going to drag it to H3 and let go. And now I'm telling Excel that I want to add these cells. And then now press enter, and I will have my sum or my total here. Okay. Now let's add in July and see if my total will update. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select the total. I'm going to drag it over to column J. I'm going to add in July, and I'm going to add my electric bill for July, which is 150. And now pay attention to the total. I'm going to press enter, and if you notice, my total has updated, right? So and let's do that for August as well. So let me select that, the total row, move it over, and I'm going to add August, and let's enter. And then in August, let's say I paid $125. I'm going to press enter, and my total keeps updating because we and the reason why is because we used a formula instead of just adding numbers, right? We use the sum formula, and this will update for you if you use this method. So I'm going to undo all of that, and I'm going to show you a third method, which I prefer for simple calculations, which sum is a simple calculation, and I'm going to undo all of that. Okay, and I'm going to delete this total right here. And this third way to do it is to use the auto sum function, okay, or the auto sum tool. So I'm going to do a total here for my electric bill, and I'm going to go use the auto sum, and the auto sum is in the home tab and in the editing group. If you go all the way to the right, and it's the one on the top right here, the very first one in this group, auto sum. Okay, so make sure you have selected the cell that you want to put the sum. Choose the drop down menu right here for auto sum, and you'll see some of the common formulas, okay, that we use with like sum and average, and count how many numbers that you have, the maximum and minimum. If you want more function, you can choose more functions, okay, but we want the sum, so I'm going to choose sum. Okay, and if you look, uh, Excel kind of automatically does it for you. It's guessing where you uh, want to add, right? Which cells you want to add, and make sure you always check that. Okay, and it looks like it's correct, so I'm going to press enter. Okay, and now I have my sum for that for my electric bill. And now let's add, so let's add July to this as well, okay, to see if it updates. Okay, I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to add July here, and I'm going to add my bill for July. And yes, right, because if we look at this cell, okay, my total for electric, uh, and if you look at the formula bar, it uh, it does the sum function for us, right? So that's how we know it's going to update anytime we make changes to that row. So if I want to, so let's add my bill for July for all the other ones, 49, and my water, let's just say 35, my food, let's just say 200, insurance stays at 100. Okay. Now, a fast way to do to find the sum for the rest of my bills, I can go back and do auto sum, right? But why not use the autofill function? Okay. So make sure you have the first one selected, okay? Your first sum selected. And I'm going to click and drag the autofill handle, okay? Click, and I'm going to drag down, okay? And if you look, if you notice, right, it has automatically calculated the totals for all of my other bills, okay? And if you check, so let me double click this one for my phone bill. Let me double click inside the cell. It looks like it has added these right here, right? And you can tell by the blue outline, okay? And you can also tell by looking at the cells, okay? Equals sum, parentheses. It's adding from cell C4 all the way to cell I4, okay? So that's how it reads. And I can just press enter. And it has done that for the rest of my bills. And that is how you use the auto sum function. Before I continue, let's do the total for each month as well. And to do that, we'll use the auto sum function. I'm going to select the cell that I want to put the total for January. And I'm going to go up to the editing group in the home tab, select the auto sum and choose sum. And Excel knows that I want to add these ones. I'm going to make sure that's correct and press enter. And then I'm going to use the autofill to add in the rest of the months. And I'm going to click and drag the autofill from handle, click and drag, and it has calculated my total for each month. And I want to fill in for my total for these months as well. So I'm just going to click and drag down, and I have my totals. So that is a quick way to calculate totals across your data by using AutoSum and using the autofill functions. Next, I want to show you the tables feature and maybe why you would want to use tables in your workbook. So to use the tables, uh, make sure you have a cell that is in your data selected. And if you go to the Insert tab, under the Tables group, you'll see Table, and just click that, and a pop-up window will pop up to ask you if you want to create a table. But make sure that your table is selected, and usually Excel will do a pretty good job of detecting your table. And you want the row A as well as column A as well as row 1. So I'm going to click OK on here, and it will convert your data into a table. Now you can do some calculations with your table, and let's say we want to add the total here. Okay, we want to add another column here with the total. You can just type in total, press enter, and if you look, it has automatically added this column into the table. And how do we know? Because of the banding right here. If you look, right, it has banding from blue to white to blue, right, and so on. If you have a lot of data, okay, this could be a very useful feature. uh, so let's add the total here, and I want to do the auto sum. I'm going to click on auto sum, and I want the sum, and I want the total for all the months. Okay, and I'm going to press enter and watch uh, all the other rows. Okay, pay attention to that. I'm going to press enter here, and if you look, this is one of the features of tables. It has automatically added the total because it knows that this column is I want the total, right? Um, so that's one of the feature. Let's say I want to add a total row right here as well. make sure you have a cell in your table selected so that you can see the table tools ribbon up here, okay, with the design tab. If I click out of the table, the table tools ribbon in the design tab will not be here, right? Because the table is not active. So make sure the table is active, and you'll see the design tab up here. Click the design tab, and you have some options here in the design tab. First, you can change the table styles right here. If you want a different color, okay, you can change it there. Or if you want the first column to be a different color, and it looks like I have done that already. Or if you want the columns to be banded, okay, you can do that. Instead of the rows, you can band the columns, right? So if that's what you want, I'm going to select back to banded rows. Now I want to add a total row right here on row 7. So I'm going to go to the design tab, select total row, and it's going to add a total row right here, right? And so it'll it has calculated the last one for me, okay? Make sure you if you select a cell in the total row, you'll see this little drop down menu right here, the little arrow, and you can click it to choose other calculations that you might want, right? Like average or the total, standard deviation, the maximum, the count, right? So this is the total that I could see right away. This is the total that I have paid this year for all my expenses. Okay, you can do an average, okay, to see how much you pay each month. Okay, but I'm just gonna go total, and for each of the columns, okay, you will have to go and click the drop down menu and select sum or averages, and it looks like I need a little more space. Okay, I'm gonna switch to my students sheet down here, and I will show you another feature of tables. So let me convert my data here into a table. I'm gonna go to insert, select table, and I'm gonna check, and that is correct. I'm gonna go okay. So it has converted my data into a table. And this is just an example of like my students list, okay, and it has last name, first name, the student status, if they are active, when they were enrolled, and their student ID. And I have 15 students in my class. So one of the features of uh, table is that you can sort. Okay, if you look at the top row, right, it has this drop down menu, and you can click that for some options to sort. Okay, and imagine if you have, like, 100 items on here, you can sort with the tables feature. And I'm going to sort in alphabetical order. If you look by the last name is not in alphabetical order. B is here, right? C is down here. M is up here. I'm going to sort by alphabetical order. I'm going to click the drop down menu, and I'm going to choose sort from A to Z. And if you look, it has sorted my students, right, by their last name, by alphabetical order. Okay, and you can sort by other ones as well. Example, active. If I want to know which students are not active or which students are active, right, you can sort here, and I can see right away these these 4 students are not active, right? Or if you want to find a student by ID number, or the enrollment date, okay, oldest to newest. So these are students that enrolled uh, here at this time, and these students enrolled at this time, okay. So that is one of the other features of tables. Let me scroll down. Let me scroll down the sheet. And if you look up here in the column, okay, the columns, okay, pay attention to that. Let me zoom in. If I scroll down, the columns have turned into that my first row, right? It has last name here, and if I keep scrolling down, it will stay, right? Uh, Last name, first name, status. I can see that is still here for each column. So these are the features of using tables, and maybe why you would want to use a table. Next, I want to show you how to insert a picture or icon or shape. And let me just say that it is almost the same as Microsoft Word. So let's insert a graphic or a picture here into my data, and I want to zoom in. To insert a picture, you will go to the Insert tab, and under the Illustrations group, choose Pictures. And let me just go to the picture that I want. I'm going to select it and click Insert. And it's too big, right? So I can reduce the size by dragging from the corner. I can drag it up here. And let's say I want to do a title for this graph, and I want this in the first row. Let me increase the size of the first row, and I'm going to make my image a little bit smaller, and I'm going to add it right there, right, to my data. And I can type a title here, right, bills or expenses, and I can then make this merge this and increase the size and make it bold or change the font, right? And this will be how you would add or insert a image or icon or shape. I'm going to go to the tables sheet, and I want to cover printing, and because printing can be a little tricky here in Microsoft Excel. So let's say I want to print this out, this data. I will go to File, Print, and let's do a preview of that first, right? Of what if we print, how it will come out. And if you look right here at the bottom, it's showing you page 1 of 2. Okay, so this is the first page. If I go to scroll to page 2, this is page 2. But in our data, we only see one table, right? This looks like it's two different tables here. And if we go, let's go back out of print. This is one table. Let me zoom out. This is one table, and that's how I would like to print it, right? But if I would go to print right now, and I print to the printer, it will print as 2 pages. So how can we fix that, right? So we're gonna have to play around with the options a little bit, but first let me show you how you would know if it's if it's gonna print in 1 or 2 table. The first thing that you can do is go down to the view layouts, okay? And right now it's in the normal layout, okay? You can choose the like how it would print, okay, by choosing this page break preview, okay? So let's choose that, and let me zoom in. And if you look, it has a some blue lines, right? Some blue borders, and it has this blue border right here. Okay, this dotted border. This shows you where it's gonna cut off, right? And this will be for the first page, and it says page 1, and it will print this in page 2. So this is a quick way for you to see how many pages or how Excel is going to print it out when you make a printout. A quick way to see how it's going to print out. But we want it all into one page, right? Because we want to keep the data together. And sometimes it's unavoidable, okay, because you have too many columns. But let's try to see if we can fit this into one page. So I'm going to go back to the normal view, and in the normal view you can tell quickly as well, because once we have chosen to print and to page preview, or if we choose uh, the view options, it will put this dotted line in your, and I know it's hard to see. If you look, it's put this dotted line in your data, right, in your worksheet. So we can use that and and try to see if we can fit all our data into one page. So it looks like my columns are too wide. Let's make it a little bit narrower. So I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to move my columns a little bit, okay, to see if we can reduce the size and try to fit into one page. And it looks like we're not able to, okay, because of our big numbers, okay. And I'm going to double click the borders here to see if we can fit it in, and it doesn't look like we're able to do it, right? So another way to do it, let's go to file, let's go to print, and if you look at this our printout, it's in portrait mode right now. So let's try to change the orientation, right? So let's look at our orientation. Right now it's in portrait. Let's choose landscape and see if it will fit everything. And it looks like it almost going to fit everything all the way up to November. Okay, December, and the total is missing here. So another thing we can do is change the margins. Okay, so right now the margins is in normal. Okay, and we can choose the narrow margins to see if that will help. If I'm going to choose narrow, and it looks like it added all the way up to December, right? And that it will print out. So play with the options. Sometimes you can fit, but if you have too many columns, it's probably not going to fit into one page. Okay, it's going to print out the total in the second page. So you can play with the options to see if it will help you print out how you want. Next, I want to show you graphs and charts. And in Excel, they call it charts. And you're able to add a graphical element into your workbooks. So to add a chart, make sure you select the data that you want. So in this, I have the total for the year and for each month, which I don't want that. So I'm going to select only the data that I want. Okay, so make sure you select the data that you want. And then if you go to the Insert tab into the Charts group, you'll see the options there. And there are many options and many different kinds of charts that you can choose from. But if you don't know what you want yet, you can choose recommended charts. So let's click that. And it has some recommended charts for the kind of data that you have. So let's say that I want this line chart. I'm going to click OK, and it'll show you a line chart, okay, for your data. But if you know exactly what kind of chart you want, so let me delete this chart, and then I'm going to go back to insert. And let's say you know exactly what you want. I want this bar chart. I'm going to click on the bar chart and select the chart that you want, right? Uh, if you want to see all of the options, you can click on the chart chart options here. This little button right here at the bottom right corner of the charts group. Click that, and the insert chart menu will pop up, and you can choose all charts, and you will see all the charts that are available to you. Okay, so here I want a bar chart. Okay, oh sorry, a column chart, and let's just choose the this one right here, and I'm gonna choose OK. And if you look, it has added this column chart, and you can increase the size by dragging the corners, and you can move it by clicking in the chart area. Okay, if you click down here, you will click the data, so that's not what you want. I just want to move it, so I'm going to click here. You can change the chart styles by going to, well, first you need to make sure your chart is active. That means you have selected your chart. And if you have your chart selected, the charts tools ribbon will pop up here with the design and the format tab. Okay. And if you don't, if you haven't clicked the chart, so let's say I clicked off over here, your design tabs and format tab will not be appear. So you need to have your chart active. The design tab will be here, and I will click the design tab. You can choose from chart styles, right? Any style that you want. If there's more options, you can click that, the drop down menu, and there will be more options. Sorry, let me do that again. And you can mouse over each chart style to see which one you want. Okay, let me just select the first one. You can also change the style of your charts by going to the quick layout, and it's also in the design tab in the charts layout. Uh, let's click the quick layout, and let's see if there's something here that I want. And let's say that I like layout 8, okay, or layout 9, okay. Let me click layout 9, and that's the layout that I want. Now for chart title and the axes, okay, um, it, by default it just has chart title, right? So you can change it by just selecting that chart, the chart title, and type. So I'm going to type expense, and if you look, it has appear in the formula bar. Okay, I'm just going to press enter, and it will change that the title. If you want this to say the amount, okay, or money for the y-axis over here, you can do that as well, and you can change the size, okay, the size of that, or you can move it. You can change. Let's say I want to say that this is amount. I'm going to press enter. You can change, you can edit the font, you can make it bigger, you can make it bold, right? Or you can delete it, right? So let's say down here, these are the months, but I already know that they're the months. I can delete that access title, okay? Press delete to delete that. And you can do more formatting to your chart, okay? If you go to the format tab, make sure your chart is active. Go to the format tab, and if you look here, right, it has shapes options, shape outline, shape fill, and the shape styles. Let me click on the more option for shape styles, and you can mouse over the shape styles, and to see which option that you like, how your chart will look. And that is how you insert a chart and format your charts. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you on the next one.